Yo, what's up you guys, it's K-Sade, and today we're gonna make some awesome bass lines using Spire. So Spire is one of my favorite synths just for the reason that you can do something really cool if you use both steppers inside of Spire. So that's what we're gonna get into, so let's get started. Alright, so we are back in Ableton, and this way of making bass lines is really an awesome way to get weird results, things that you wouldn't normally think of. So really what it all is just using the steppers in very interesting ways, which is actually one of my favorite uses of using Spire. So each stepper to me represents a different oscillator or a different combination of oscillators. So to make this tutorial simple, I just left 2 oscillators from scratch just to keep it all simple. And so stepper 1 will pretty much be in control of oscillators 1's amp, and same with stepper 2 will be in control of oscillator 2's amp. So the way I set that up is just going to the matrix here and setting up stepper 1, stepper 2, and then oscillator 1 amp, oscillator 2 amp. And then from there, if you want to add individual effects to each oscillator, you can kind of set that with adding more triggers. So I have a phaser dry wet that goes up on the second stepper, so in a weird way it's like I have phaser just for that second oscillator and not for the first one. So it's a really cool way to get intricate. So you know, I also use steppers a lot for other things other than just bass lines, you know, for making just nice sequencers and those kind of things. And especially when you combine that with an ARP, like you can see right here, I have an ARP controlling my cutoff. So when you combine all these different rhythmic kind of elements together, they get really crazy. So you can see here I'm using a couple reverse kind of envelopes and some doubles here. So when we listen to this just by itself, it sounds pretty cool. So it's all pretty interesting. So if I didn't have these there, it would just sound so boring. So let's take those off. So let's add some volume to these so we can actually hear these. So they're kind of boring like that, but by assigning them each to their own stepper and then combining that with everything else, bringing this volume down all the way, putting it both these oscillators kind of where they're in the yellow, so that means that they will trigger with the steppers. Now we have something much more interesting. Alright, so I guess the only thing left to do is just to create a new patch so you can kind of see everything I just talked about in use. So let's just go ahead and initialize a patch. We're going to quickly just make this without really listening too much. So let's really initialize it a few times. And the thing to remember is that we can use any combination of oscillators to assign to any steppers or ARPs or LFOs, so you can get really crazy with this, but we're going to just keep it on steppers. And the first thing I like to do is set them to like 1/4. You can do whatever rate you want. I just like starting with a number that is kind of mid-tempo for me. And now we're just gonna set these both to 8, so they don't have to match. Sometimes it's really cool to have one that's faster than another or slower than another, and that gives you interesting results. But when I'm making this, it's easier for me at least to have them both be exactly the same at first and then start changing them. So we're gonna set both oscillator 1 and 2 down into the yellow, so that way, and slightly up, so that way we can modulate these upward, because if they're all the way down, they sometimes don't modulate upwards depending on what synth you're in. So let's set oscillator 1 to be 2 octaves down. We'll just keep it like a saw thing. We'll add some voices to it, get some detuning going on, make it a little wider, and yeah, we'll just maybe bring in a little bit of wavetable mix just to kind of curve it, or let's just leave it on saw. And let's go oscillator 2, let's bring this down an octave. Let's bring the wavetable mix up and select something like bass 4, why not? And what else could we do to this? We don't really need to detune this. Let's add some width. Really, we're not trying to make anything too crazy yet. We're just kind of quickly putting in some settings. So let's go to the matrix now and assign stepper 1, stepper 2, and ARP step. So in Spire, there's a weird way where you can get a third stepper. If you go to step mode inside the ARP and you leave this off, it's like you have a third stepper. So it's not as intricate as these, but it's a cool way to do that if you really need that. I suppose most people won't ever need that, but let's set this to 8 steps, and I'm going to leave this at 1/16. We're going to bring the gate down. And if I wanted to use this ARP on top of everything else, I could just use it and program it like a normal ARP. So we'll set this to like 7 there, 5, so we get some kind of notes playing that are musical in the scale that I'm in right now. So we'll just set it something like that, and we can just randomly add these in. So really just doing everything quick and randomly. Let's add a little bit of glide. Let's throw a bend range in case we want to do anything there. Let's turn off these. Let's turn on the multi-band compressor. Let's turn off some effects. So this is really just me creating super fast. And let's throw up some, let's put this on 2, throw this drive up all the way. Because we're gonna use this now that I'm thinking about this, we're gonna leave the dry wet up just enough so that we can throw this onto one of our oscillators. So let's set this to oscillator 2. Let's grab our our shaper, dry wet, and let's bring that up all the way. And it's probably important now that we bring in the oscillator mixes. So let's bring in oscillator 2 amp, oscillator 1 amp. So now let's bring this both all the way up. So now when these steppers play, we will actually get some volume out of these. So let's also add another effect. So let's get a phaser val low, and let's bring the frequency around there, bring the dry wet barely up, increase the rate and feedback. And we can also assign other modulations like LFOs and envelopes to this frequency, because that's usually a fun thing to do, but we're going to leave it at that for now. So if I wanted to do that, I could go to envelopes and envelope 2, 3, or 4 and bring in phaser frequency, or I could do that with an LFO or in a matrix, assign it to a stepper. And so there's plenty of ways to do that. So let's go over here and let's put this on, let's grab phaser dry wet for oscillator 1, or stepper 1, which controls oscillator 1. So that's kind of why I pair those together in my head like that. So when I think of stepper 1, I think of oscillator 1. So now that we kind of have all this random stuff playing, let's actually kind of hear what it sounds like. Actually, let's throw a quick little filter here. So let's select cutoff, filter, cutoff 1. For we're gonna put a low pass 4. We're gonna select the cutoff, put it on ARP step, and bring that down. And let's increase some resonance. Now let's listen to this. So this was a super quick patch. So let's listen to what it sounds like. So not half bad for just quickly throwing a bunch of stuff together. I think if we switch the effects, so if we put our shaper over here and our phaser on the other stepper, that might be better. So sometimes you gotta switch things around. Really what you'll see when making bass lines this way is you're gonna have to play around a lot with different effects and different filters and the kind of things you can have on each stepper. So one thing that we haven't even done yet is actually put a nice cool shape to these. So let's go ahead and start using some of these. So when we click on one of these steps, we can reverse, copy, paste, all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and reverse some of these and draw on some different waves here. And let's set this to a hold. And actually, if we just press paste a bunch of times, we can actually just bring those down. And now great, I've kind of messed this one up, but let's reverse it. that's cool there. I don't mind that. Let's copy this blank one and let's paste it in a bunch of these. So copy, paste, paste, paste. And last one, let's do like a double thing. So over here, I kind of want to fill in some of these blanks. So let's quickly just press paste a bunch of times and let's start bringing some of these down. So, you know, my idea here is to kind of make them really different from each other. So that's always the ultimate goal here. So let's do a double with this one and copy, paste. Okay, so now let's listen to that and see what we get from just doing that. Hopefully this gives you some ideas and some things you can do. So thanks guys for watching, and of course,